I set up with a really intentional purpose of I wanted to see as much of the world as possible, tennis to pay for it, I wanted to have a really good time, I wanted to last as long as possible before having to have a real job. I did that for about 14 years, so that was a true blessing.
Hello, and welcome to Working with me, Dan Doriani, hosting a podcast where we explore faith, work, culture, and the way believers can make a difference in their corner of the world. Well, my guest today is Gus Martin, friend of mine, born in Tasmania. In case you're wondering, that's the island off the south of Australia. When he opens his mouth to speak, you're going to recognize that he is an Aussie, if you know the way people speak throughout the world. Gus is my guest for three reasons. Number one, it's fascinating, I think, always to talk to somebody or listen to somebody who is a professional athlete at the highest levels, which he was. Also a coach, tennis player, tennis coach with a lot of success after the playing career, very highest levels. We'll talk about that a little. And even more, to me, about 20 years in leadership at Christian schools. That's how I got to know you. And we found that we have a lot in common about the way we address problems and the way we address leadership. Gus, it is great to have you. Did I say anything false about you? You want to add anything other than the fact that you're the husband of Felicity and you have three wonderful children? Anything you want to say?
Well, I'm excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to share.
Great. So let's just talk first a little bit about sports. Most pro athletes, in my experience, I'm sure yours is much richer than mine, have God-given talents that simply allow them to quickly start to excel. People notice this kid can run faster, they're stronger, whatever the case may be. Can I ask you in all humility to say, what did God give you that enabled you to become a pro athlete? What was always there for you as a child?
I think the love of playing sport was always there, and I think when you are passionate about something and you really love it, that fuels a desire to get better at it. And I came from a very athletic family, a really, really athletic family, and that came with it a lot of expectations. But we were able to, my parents were able to temper those expectations, and I was given the latitude and the freedom to be as good as we wanted to at a particular sport. And so I played a lot of sports, and then at about 13, I had to choose. And
what were your options? I know cricket was one of them.
Cricket,
running and
cricket, football, running.
American style football or Australian?
Aussie rules.
Right.
I loved playing football. I loved the team element of that. I loved the individual nature of running, and really enjoyed running, middle distance running. But tennis was the thing that I really loved because you got to bat all the time.
As opposed to cricket, where you bat once in a great while.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can also just hit the ball as hard as you can, and then you have to run after the next one. And so that endurance element and the athleticism element intrigued me, but so did the complex nature of the strategy of the game.
Yeah. That's so you're a thinker, so strategy, natural strength, and so forth. But you also do have the gene for endurance. I mean, you've been on mega endurance things like triathlons a number of times and other events of that sort.
I've been selected for 9 national teams for triathlon.
For the triathlon.
For triathlon, for Olympic distance and long distance triathlon. And then I've done about a dozen Ironmans and done the national championships for 18-hour adventure racing.
And adventure racing, in case anybody doesn't know what that is definitely an endurance sport. 18 hours cycling, running. What else?
Well, I think as you take the start line, you actually don't know what you're in for.
Yeah, right.
And in the national championships this year, we didn't really know until later on during the week where they announced the area of the event. You're told to bring a kayak. You're told to bring a mountain bike. You could be rock climbing. You could be doing anything. And so you find out along the way. So it's adaptability and not getting disturbed and being able to work with the team is key.
Yeah, there's a team. How many people on the team? Team of 4. Team of 4. Okay, so endurance sports and hand-eye sports. That's your primary gifting, which you then developed.
Yeah, I'd probably say that I wasn't really as good as the endurance sports as I was at the hand-eye coordination.
You were only good enough to make 9 national teams, so you weren't very good at it.
But I found it relaxing.
Okay.
And I think I took that up after I'd retired from playing tennis. And so I was trying to figure out when I finished playing tennis, what am I going to do? I'm used to training for 8 hours a day. I need something. I'm going to do Ironman. I've only got to train like 3 or 4 hours a day.
Yeah, that's right. Although tennis isn't, I mean, singles tennis is certainly an endurance sport. I mean, it's not antithesis to long distance running and fitness and so forth. By our previous conversations, you say that you were probably, around the 150th best tennis player in the world, maybe 200. If you're the 200 best baseball player, you're doing really well. You're one of the best players on a good team. If you're a football player, you're one of the 7 best players in a team of 53. I mean, that's fantastic. In tennis, to be 150th in the world is terrific. But the tennis world is kind of built for the top 50 or 100. It's not easy to be number 150 or 180. They have an entourage. They have trainers. They have it's different. Tell us about life on the road, the non-glamorous side of high-end sports.
Well, I got to taste the glamorous and coaching and being with someone who won a Grand Slam and lost a final of a Grand Slam and working with them. And you saw that they were playing 14 tournaments a year. And I wasn't good enough to do that. And I also figured out if I chased a ranking that I was going to go broke pretty quickly. And I saw my friends do that, and I didn't have a lot of money behind me. So I had to earn prize money along the way. You've got limited sponsorships. Try and get some appearance money for doing things, play pro-ams and those sort of things. But really it was about a life of economy and then playing a lot of tournaments. It
wasn't glamorous? You're saying it was a life of economy?
Well, it wasn't for me, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I played 70 tournaments in 1 year.
That's a lot of tournaments.
That's a lot of tournaments. So you're trying to play in Europe, and you're trying to play a Wednesday tournament and a weekend tournament for a lot of the year, just to be getting enough money.
Now, you did get to travel a lot. You were literally in hundreds of cities, dozens and dozens of countries. So what was the best part of being number 150 or 180 in the world?
Well, I think that you can get into tournaments, which is good when you enter into tournaments and you're going to get to play. But sometimes I would actually opt if there was a money tournament in town. So there was a prize money tournament rather than an ATP tournament. I would play the money tournament and take the cash, and I could win. I might be able to win $5,000-$10,000 on a weekend instead of playing a tournament and getting some ranking points and getting $1,500.
Yeah, right. You wanted to not be bankrupt or in debt when you left.
Well, I set out with the really intentional purpose of I wanted to see as much of the world as possible. For tennis to pay for it, I wanted to have a really good time, and I wanted to last as long as possible before having to have a real job.
Okay, it sounds like a very specific set of parameters.
I did that for about 14 years, so so that was a true blessing.
Yeah. So you did become a coach. You did get to see the more glamorous side. You didn't have a full-time coach.
I had a coach who I took with me on for a series of tournaments in India, and then I had another guy, Mike, who's become a really, really close friend, Canadian guy, and he helped me out a bit as well. But I didn't have the money to be paying for a full-time coach, and it's really hard when you're trying to coach yourself. You're trying to organize all your own practice.
Right.
You're trying to
get your own flights.
You're trying to map
hotel reservations.
Exactly. You're trying to map out your own schedule for when you're going to practice, what you're going to work on. And I think in hindsight, having to play that many tournaments, you don't ever get to have peaks and times of rest. You're just on the whole time, and I think that stops you really being able to reach the levels that I probably could have. Yes. But I guess that was a choice I made.
Yeah, people say that about writing books too. They say you don't write a book and then start another book. Yeah. You write a book and then you let your mind flow to different interests and fill your thoughts, and you take a few months off without writing anything, or at least a few weeks off.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we know a lot more about sport and sports science than we did 30 years ago.
So what is it like to be a coach? You switched from playing to coaching. Did you find that to be an easy transition or difficult transition?
Well, I mean, the understanding of the game and the transferability of the skills is just the same. And you've gone through and you know what it feels like. And knowing what it feels like is really important. Now, the player that I was working with, she was a lot reached a lot higher level than I ever reached. But so that was heading in new territory. The big challenge is you're not in control. You're responsible for everything, But when you're playing your own matches, I'm responsible for swinging my racket and playing my shots and the choices I make. Whereas if the player I'm coaching makes a stupid choice, that's my fault.
But you can't fix it. Exactly.
Exactly.
And of course, if you play the wrong shot or you maybe didn't get in the right position for the next shot and you're the player, you can correct it immediately.
And you can get emotional as a player, but as a coach, you've just got to be sitting there
right.
stone-faced and be encouraging, even though the things are turning inside.
Yeah, even though they're disregarding all the advice you gave them before the match, for example.
And it's a little bit different now because the coaches can actually talk to the players.
Right. Whereas for years they weren't permitted to do that.
we weren't allowed to be talking to the players. I mean, there was a certain degree of help that you can give, and you can give some encouragement in the right areas to affirm behaviors that you're trying to encourage.
Right. You could not explicitly coach out loud.
No, because they get penalized for that.
Right. That rule, I think, is blessedly gone. You said a minute ago, you said that you understand what it's like to be a player. Can you just talk to us for a minute about what it's like to be in a match, maybe against a slightly superior opponent? You think, I got to do my best. I've a chance if I play everything perfectly, or maybe it's an opponent you should have beaten easily and it's really close. It's 4-5 in the third set. It's your serve. You got to win your serve or you lose, or maybe you're going into a tiebreaker. What's the internal dialogue? And I just have to ask, how much trash talking went on? You know, when you do the crossover, is it all polite? Hey, how you doing, Joe? Or do some people try to get under your skin and bother you and so forth? What's it like at those big moments?
Well, I'm probably ashamed to say that trash talking was an expertise of mine, and I think that's also a part of the Australian culture. Right. It's part of the Australian culture where man, you're serving well. That out wide serve's causing me trouble every time, and then all of a sudden they start trying to hit out wide serves all the time and start missing them, and you start getting into people's head. But I mean, the game is a mental game. That's such a huge part of the game. But I think one of the most misunderstood part of the game is the matchups. When you're playing someone who, just because they're a certain level player, you think, oh, I'm going to beat them. It's their style of play and how it counters against you. And I was a very aggressive player. I had a big serve. I like to come forward a lot.
Come forward means come to the net, try to finish the net quite quickly.
Exactly. I played with the approach of always looking for the opportunity to attack and put pressure on people, and
not everybody plays that way.
And some players were very good at responding to that and made life very hard for me. And so they may not necessarily be unbelievable players, but they were just really good at countering that. And so
their strength matched up against your strength very favorably.
Yeah, exactly. And so that created a lot of challenges in a tournament when you came across that sort of a player. But I think when you're under pressure, when you're in a match, you're constantly trying to get the other person under duress. So you're either trying to make them move so far to the side that it challenges their skill.
They can't get set for the next shot.
It challenges their skill level. It challenges their athleticism. And you're trying to move forward and put pressure on people, so it puts a mental challenge in there for the player as well. So you're constantly trying to do that. And meanwhile, you're trying to exhaust someone to the point where...
there's duress of the instant, there's duress of longevity, keeping it going, and there's also mental duress.
Yeah. So when someone gets tired, they can't think clearly. They make stupid choices, and you're just trying to get someone, because the goal is to win the match. Not to win with a particular score, and you would go into a match trying to play how you wanted to play, the style of play that you wanted to work with, and if that didn't work, then you had to hunker down. And I was really intentional about my physicality and making sure that I was super fit. And there were plenty of times when I'd be playing people who were better than me, and it was just a matter of, okay, can I keep them out here forever and put them in hospital, and
give them cramps.
Exactly. You're just trying to beat them. You want to be around for the next match, and you get the points and you get the money. But sometimes that approach, I wasn't good enough to be really decisive with some people. So that meant the next day that became that would be hard for me, because I'd be battling against fatigue against a fresher opponent.
May I ask you a question? What's the most signature, big picture, famous win you ever had? Did you beat anybody ever who has a big name?
I've got a win over Andy Roddick.
Andy Roddick, that's a big name.
Actually, I beat him in St. Louis, where we are right now.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah. He was like 17 years old, though.
Oh, he was 17 years old.
But it was still a win
and you
over him.
were 24 or something?
I was like 28.
28, okay.
Something
So
like
you
that.
had a little more
I was a
man
little bit
strength
older.
than he did. It's still pretty good to beat Andy Roddick.
Yeah, I think I would say my best match was against a guy, Leonardo Levi, who was number one player for Mexico, and he'd beaten the current world number one the week before.
Okay.
And I had a match point and lost that match.
You had match point. That's tough.
But I mean, lots of wins along the way. I think a win over Nicolas Escudé, who was from France, and he played the semi-finals or the quarterfinals of the Australian Open only a few months later.
Yeah. That's a good win.
I lost a super tight match to Paul Goldstein.
That's
leading
a good
into
American name from some years ago.
Yeah, and just inducted into the Hall of Fame for Stanford. And I mean, he's such a fierce competitor, and I played a great match against him. And if I had won that match, I think my career would have been totally different.
Okay.
Actually, probably either any of those last couple of matches.
Yeah.
They would have been big elements to change the pathway and trajectory of your career.
It is a sport that turns on the tiniest of margins sometimes.
I mean, we've seen that with some people who have just been struggling, and then just one big run, and then all of a sudden things change, and you're getting into bigger tournaments.
Right.
And that's one of the motivators why people hang on and keep on playing for so long. And
they're hoping for the break, which happens every year. It seems to happen to somebody.
Yeah.
Back to coaching. You've coached tennis. You've coached at the highest level. You've also helped out with high school teams. Tell us, pretend for a moment that I'm a coach. I've coached a little. I'm not a coach in any serious way. What is the common thread in all coaching? If I'm coaching an 11-year-old boys basketball team, let's say the boys are serious about it. They have some skill. What does that have in common with coaching an NCAA Division I basketball team and a professional tennis player?
I think the higher level coaching you do, you have to take care of more things. And as a coach, I had people work with me on technique, and that was something that was really important to me from the foundational years. And I found that if someone has a solid game and they don't have technical errors, then that means that they're more liable to beat a lot of opponents. So I'm always onto my players about their technique and insisting that they be disciplined, that they work hard. And I think that no matter what you do, they've got to have fun. And I think that the number one reason people do any sport is for fun.
It's pleasurable,
and they get to spend time with other people. And
right.
I mean, I can remember
teamwork.
I remember times as a professional player where I can remember this one particular incident. I was practicing with a guy that I was traveling with indoors in Canada, and it was just tough. And we were just working relentlessly on a particular skill, and the guys on the court next door are laughing and having fun. And I said to these guys, I wish I could have as much fun as you. And these guys looked over to me and they said, we wish we could play like you.
Right.
I'm like, well, that's never going to happen.
Yeah,
but maybe I should back off a little bit and I can have fun. And that's what I'd say.
Yeah.
So I've been really intentional with high school athletes and people I've worked with. Keep it fun, mix it up, keep it interesting, expect excellence, and prepare for the things that you can control, and accept the things that you can't control.
Like the quality of your opponent, the nature of your opponent. So let me just see if I can repeat this to you. So you're working with 12-year-old boys, 11-year-old boys basketball. Yeah. Is the same as coaching a girls track team, college track team, same as coaching tennis. In these regards, you want to teach proper form. Mm-hmm. You want focus. You want to have fun. Yep. Are those the big three?
Yeah, well, and you've also got to, I think, using what the science says is also important.
Constantly
with those
learning.
Things. And I was blessed to be able to work with my daughter, who's a good athlete, writing programs, running programs, and even triathlon programs at certain stages for her, even to bring her to a level of a national championship, where you have to be structured. You have to make sure that kids are getting enough rest. But again, it's got to be fun.
Yes.
And sometimes she would be out there running in the snow, or
Some people like running in the snow,
and it was hard, and it was slippery and miserable. And then other times it's running along the boardwalk in Long Beach, and it's an absolute blast. It's fun. So you've got to mix it up for the athletes as well.
So as you know, one of my daughters is a pretty serious runner, and for her, running in snow and ice is actually, let's go. This is the best possible scenario. The worse, the better. Not everybody sees it that way. So it's fun as you construe fun, pleasure as you construe pleasure. And then for her, partly the bad weather doesn't affect her the way she knows that it doesn't bother her the way it bothers other people when she's in a race. So you have to know yourself and conditions.
Well, I think being able to deal with things and have a positive attitude to those, to realize that this is actually going to help me and be benefit in me when I'm in a race and it's tough.
Or if a tennis match is very windy.
And it's difficult. So, I mean, you don't not practice because it's windy. You just practice different things.
Right.
You forget about rhythm and some of those things. You've got to more work on skills and point play, because the ball doesn't feel good in your racket, and it doesn't feel good for the other person either. When the conditions aren't nice. But I think the big thing there is just really being an encourager for the athletes. And for me, coaching has been all about discipleship. It's about journeying with kids to use their God-given abilities, and how do you maximize those. So as a coach, I've always felt a lot of responsibility, and I know when somebody else started coaching my daughter, I could go to races and I'm like, I can relax, it's not my fault. I don't have to be thinking, what did I do this, did I get that ready, have I thought about that, maybe she should have done more hills. Or coaching cross-country teams, and I've coached a lot of cross-country teams, they've come into this big race, have they done the right amount of work, have they done enough work,
and have they rested enough also?
Exactly.
You can overtrain also. That's one of the things people have found in recent years, is the danger of overtraining. Let me switch over to your longest career. I mean, you were in tennis, of course, for a long time, both as a player and as coach. But for close to 20 years now, you headed Christian schools. And although I like sports as you do, we're not at the same level, even remotely, in the sporting world. But in terms of leadership, we have a lot of shared experiences. And one of the shared experiences we have is that we tend to be drawn to and don't shy away from difficult situations. And have maybe even a resolute spirit about working on difficult problems. We share that. You have a phrase that you know that I love, and that is giving clarity. Can you explain the doctrine of giving clarity? It applies to people who are maybe not promoting the common good of the institution, just to set it up. Maybe when everybody's pulling together properly as they should. What does it mean to give clarity?
I think sometimes when you deal with people in difficult situations, they still try and do talking and set the tone for how it is. And as a leader...
Wait, come back up. So somebody does something they definitely shouldn't have done.
And
then you say, hey, we got to talk about this. Let me explain. The reason I did it is... Go ahead.
And then through the conversation, if they're not hearing what needs to be heard...
never do that again.
I pause the conversation and say, look, I need to give you clarity. And that really comes down to making sure that what I want to be heard gets heard. And if you're in the situation in a meeting and I have to give you clarity, that's probably not a good thing.
It's not a good thing for you at the moment, but it's good for the institution. It's good for the common good.
But I think it's also kind to them.
Yes.
I think...
but when I say it's not good for them, I mean it's not pleasant at the moment.
Absolutely.
But it's very good for them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I'm not rude or angry or mean to people in giving that, but I would hate someone to walk away from a situation with a misrepresentation of how they should be responding. So I feel the responsibility as a leader that we should be able to tell people, okay, this is not acceptable, and this is how it should be. And sometimes we need to give people clarity on how they need to respond moving forward. And I'm
going to push you on this a little bit because we have lively conversations about this. So we can either go to the past 5-10 years ago, so you're not talking about anything recent. Nobody will think you're talking about them. Or I can pretend I'm your employee. And let's say there's a snowstorm at our school, and I get a call from my wife, and she's stuck at the grocery store, and I say, I got to go. I'm your teacher. And I go, I got to go. My wife is panicking at the grocery store. And you go, no, you don't have to go. You have to stay. Your responsibility is, first of all, to your students. Take care of your students. That's your job. Tell your wife to relax. Just, get something to eat at the grocery store. You'll be there after the students are taken care of during the snowstorm that people are panicking about. And I say, Gus, I got to go. And you say, no, you don't have to go. And then I go. And the next day, you say, hey, you abandoned your classroom. How would you give me clarity? What would it mean?
Well, we're going to have a conversation about your responsibilities, and I'm going to give you clarity about this. This is your role. This is what we pay you to do. You're expected to do this, and this is why. God has entrusted you. You've gone into a leadership role in a school, in a Christian school. You're partnering with the parents. There is an expectation.
Does the parents expect something of you?
Absolutely. So it's not just me.
Right.
These are somebody's children. And we have a huge responsibility to look after those children. So we're going to get a conversation that to give clarity about.
I say, stop, Gus, but you don't understand me. Gus, you don't understand. My wife was really worried.
I'm sure she was. Dan, it is your job to take care of these children. You need to do that, or I want you to know I'm going to fire you.
That's giving clarity. Not you're going to fire me now, but if I do it again, if I defy a direct order again, you give people a chance.
Of course. Well, I think a part of the responsibility of a leader is to show grace, but also to disciple with and to bring people along. And we, as leaders, we have a responsibility to rebuke in kindness, in lovingly, and also to give really unambiguous.
Right.
Unambiguous understandings of how they need to respond or how they need to do
so
their job.
I'll give an example. I'm a professor, obviously, as well as a pastor. And sometimes I'll have students who will say something like, I didn't know that assignment was due. I mean, surely you aren't going to penalize me for not turning in the work I didn't know was due. And I might say, I don't use the words give you clarity, although I've started to a little bit. See, the reason why you didn't know it was due is because you didn't read the course guide and you weren't in class when I announced it. Oh, no, I was in class, they say. No, you come to class late by 10 minutes every time, and I give announcements in the first couple of minutes. So the reason why you didn't turn in your paper is because you have not been fulfilling your duties. Mm-hmm. So I am going to penalize you because you are responsible for this. Now, I'm not penalizing you because I want to be mean or because I take pleasure in penalizing. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to be a pastor or a teacher after you graduate from this school, or an engineer, whatever the case may be, you need to have good work habits. You need to know what your responsibilities are. You need to come prepared on time. And if they say, the traffic's bad, then I say, then leave earlier in the morning. Mm-hmm. But I can never tell when the traffic's going to be bad. Then leave earlier in the morning. Absolutely. And I'm giving clarity.
Absolutely.
It's not mean.
Yeah.
But if they keep giving excuses, I have to fight through their excuses.
Well, if people know what the expectation is, they can meet it.
Right.
And
people like to know what's expected of them.
Absolutely. And I think there are too many leaders that are afraid to draw a line in the sand and really say, no, this is the standard, and I am going to hold you to it. But also, when you don't hold people to it, everybody else is watching. And, that has an impact on the culture. Yes. They say that people come to organisations for the pay and they stay for the culture, and as a leader, it is so important to be relentless in dealing with things to make sure that you tend to the culture, you tend to the flock.
The flock meaning the people on your team.
The people, for me, the kids, the parents, and the faculty.
Right. Those are all teams of yours you're responsible for.
Absolutely.
So it's. I think you and I might agree on this, maybe not, that for many people it's easier to turn around a difficult culture than it is to maintain a good culture. So if you walk into a spot, let's say you walk into a school, and we'll make it a fictitious school in which teachers routinely come a little bit late. Class starts at 8:30. They arrive. Their car comes in at 8:35. You probably know how to turn that around. Maybe you could tell us what you would do
So the way I approach those situations is you're looking for a reasonably quick change in the culture.
Right.
You don't want it to drag on forever, but it happens through one conversation at a time. And so
we have 7 teachers repeatedly coming late out of 20.
Well, everybody's watching that,
Right.
And if the people who are doing the right thing shouldn't be penalised by getting the staff memo or something like that,
Right.
I rather take the rifle approach than the shotgun approach,
Okay.
where I go straight to the people and we have a conversation about it. We talk about what's expected.
So one by one, if there's 7 people, you talk to all 7 individually. No
Absolutely.
memos.
No, I'd sit down and I talk to people, and I'm a firm believer. If you've got something that needs to be addressed, talk to them, and if you want to praise them, write it to them.
Okay, that's okay.
I think emails and those sort of things with difficult situations so often can get misinterpreted or misread, and the tone and the tenor is and the non-verbal communications are all interpreted, and you have no control over those.
Always deliver bad news in person.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of that.
Never send bad news by email or by text.
Yeah.
At worst, if you can't reach somebody, you call them until you reach them on the phone. Maybe they're traveling or something.
I'm not even a huge fan of that, and especially living.
It's a last resort.
Well, especially living in the United States, I've got a bit of an accent, and
Yes.
so I'm conscious that can sometimes be inflections or whatever can be misinterpreted.
That's right.
So I have to be mindful of that.
But we all have an accent. We think you have an accent here. When I go to Australia, they think I have an accent.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So what's the difference between improving a culture and maintaining a culture, or steadily improving a culture?
Well, I think you've got to get the right people on the right seat on the bus, and I think discipleship and mentoring of people is the way to continue the culture. Now, I've never been someone who settled for how things are. I've always looked to improve things. I never went to a practice and thought, man, that backhand is so good. I don't have to practice my backhand anymore. I'm there. I've arrived.
Right.
And I think that's the same thing as a leader and as a Christian school. It's got Christian right in the middle of the name of Christian school so often.
Right.
It should be
Briarwood Christian School.
And it should be better. And
Right.
and I think we have a high obligation to really strive for excellence and doing things incredibly well, and that becomes a huge motivator for you. And I don't ever see in that ever that we should settle for mediocrity or settle for where we are. And there's always research and development that's happening in brain science and learning.
Mm-hmm.
So why not be exploring these things and looking at these things? There's greater opportunities with technology. There's pedagogical refinements. There's better classroom.
There's always opportunities to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this question. Imagine I'm your new teacher. How old do you want me to be? 31? Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. And you're 51.
Mm-hmm.
And you hired me. And the word is I'm doing a good job in the classroom. The kids are learning physics and chemistry. They're doing great. Scores are doing well. But I'm going to give you 2 problems that I have, right? Problem number 1 is I'm a little too familiar with the kids. Too much joking around, too much acting like maybe I'm kind of a peer, maybe almost crossing some borders into too friendly, maybe too much revelation about what I did over the weekend, et cetera. That's one. Second one is you see in me tendencies of workaholism. I'm an obsessively, so maybe 2 people. There's Dan and there's George. Obsessively trying to get every test perfect and redoing the exam and then grading and regrading and meeting with people. And I'm sending you emails at 1 a.m. and then I'm also sending you emails at 6:30 a.m. Asking you if I've done the right thing. How would you handle these 2 young men?
Well, in the school building, there's typically some people who are interested in speaking into other people's lives, discipling, mentoring some other people,
Right.
some peer mentorship, and that's a little bit
Right.
different because it's not a boss
Yep.
telling them what to do. So, firstly, I would be looking for a buddy
Okay.
who can actually visit with that person and show them some things. But
so you would try to guess who's the best person to mentor?
Yeah, well, you know your staff. You know who's good at what.
Well, not guess, but
yeah,
judge,
yeah,
assess.
absolutely. And I mean, I'd be doing some observations of the teacher who's overly familiar. I'd be setting some parameters in place. I mean, there's some neat technology that schools can use to really safeguard the students to make sure that everything is above board. And I think that's important to use those things. And if you've got concerns about things, you don't sweep them under the carpet. That does not work.
You don't hope it goes away.
No, you have to talk about it.
What would you say to the young teacher that's working way too hard? Seems like, anyway.
Yeah, so the teacher who's working too hard, they can only be as effective as their level of engagement and their level of energy. And teaching and coaching, it's a long term. There's no such thing as a magic lesson. And it's about the ongoing constant journey and path of teaching and instructing and learning. And I think to encourage them to realize you've got to actually firstly be efficient with your time, and the things that and help them evaluate what are the things that are actually pointless doing, and if you're doing things that are pointless and they're a burden and it's having a negative impact in another area, which is therefore diminishing the effectiveness of your teaching, then we'd be having a conversation with them to try and support them to realize, okay, let's actually be better in the choices that we make, so that we don't overburden ourselves. And again, there's some teachers who are super efficient with doing things, and and also probably wanting to know, why is that teacher overly familiar with? Is it a self-confidence issue? Why is that staff member working so incredibly hard? Do they feel that they have to do that for their self-worth, or that their job's in jeopardy?
So just look at the behavior.
Yeah,
and try to get the motives.
Yeah, try and understand the situation.
Yeah. I have one more question for you, and you don't know this is coming, but it's not a hard question. 5 years from now, the year's 2031, what would you like to look back over the last 5 years and say, man, I'm sure glad I got to see this happen over the last 5 years, or accomplish this, or see this accomplished in the people I love? What would you like to look back upon and say, I'm so glad?
Well, I hope that every single staff member at the school can look back and say, I was invested in, and I'm a better teacher because we were better resourced, I was better paid, and that the school loved on me and cared for me and made me better, and that was for the good of the students. So that would be one thing. We're in a really exciting situation at the moment with some development in athletics at Briarwood, where we've had a shift from the American system is a bulk education system. It's the public school system. It's a bulk education system, and students who don't want that, or they go into the private school model, and really there's a high level of customization. And athletically, as a school, we've been adopting a bulk model in a private school, and so we're moving that to a more customized level with a Briarwood Performance Athletics program, and it's really exciting to see some of the work that's happening there, getting sports sciences.
And you've had really good results. I mean, not too long ago, one of your teams won a state championship in soccer.
And the tennis team won a state championship as well.
And the tennis team, thank you. I gave you a chance to say it all by yourself.
Well, I thank you. And I was the self-appointed assistant coach.
Yeah, I think the student athletes are happy to have you. Encourage them.
I just love that the kids get the opportunity to explore their talents and foster the talents and be healthy. But really, the rich discipleship. I mean, we have amazing coaches, and to sit down and watch the coaches work with the kids through tough times, losing a difficult match, missing a shot at goal, and at an important time, and see them encourage and allow the kids to continue to grow and nurture them in their faith is such an important thing for us.
Gus, it's been great to have you. I'm so glad I met you about 2.5 years ago. We got to do things together. Got to spend time, convivial time, and to work together. And I'm glad you're going to continue.
Yeah, we love living in Birmingham. The community has been so welcoming to us there, and I think there are so many people that don't realize how blessed the Christian education model in the United States is, where you truly have freedom. And that was one of the big motivations for us moving from Australia, where you've got a national curriculum. 80% of the time is controlled by the government. You get 20% of the time. Here, we have full control over our time. And for God's glory, it's leading to some really good schools.
It's amazing. So thank you, Gus, tennis pro, coach at various levels, highest and ordinary levels, and a really fine leader of Christian schools. Currently, Briarwood Christian School. Nice to have you. Working with Dan Doriani is a production of the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. We seek to promote faithfulness in the workplace, in education, in discipleship, and in the stories of believers who've applied their faith at work. If you want to put your faith to work and change your corner of the world, visit our website, the Center for Faith and Work St. Louis. Look for faithandworkstl.org. That's one word. We'll help you start a cohort with like-minded believers who also want to practice their faith at work. This podcast is donor-supported. To keep us going, please donate on our website. Maybe more importantly, you can support us by listening, by subscribing, by sharing, by liking us, by posting us on your favorite platform, or go old school and tell a friend.